you're probably not exhausted because you're doing too much. You're exhausted because you have no infrastructure to process everything that you're already carrying. If you give me a couple of minutes, I'm going to walk you through something called the capacity leak framework. So it's a simple 3-step diagnostic that will help identify where your nervous system is losing resources so that you can stop patching up the wrong holes and actually focus on the things that are going to help the most. Now, if you want access to my capacity assessment, that you can run a full diagnostic on yourself today, drop the word assess in the comments and I will send that over to you. It's a digital assessment. It will give you a full overview of where your nervous system is at and give you an in detail insight into what's actually happening. So, if you don't already know, my name is Celeste and I'm the founder of Project Tempest, and we work with high-performing women to help rebuild the nervous system infrastructure that high performance actually runs on. In all of these videos and in all of the podcasts, I'll always try and give you something useful that you can implement, be that a tool, a framework, or even just an insight. So, right now, chances are you are managing, you're functioning, you're doing all the stuff, you're holding it together on the outside, and you're still getting results, but underneath there's a persistent drain and you can't really locate it. You're not exactly sure what it is because there's so much stuff. And you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, all the things that everyone says you should be doing to help fix it, but it's not really working for you. The tiredness isn't lifting, the sharpness isn't really there anymore, your focus is struggling, and you're lying there at 3 a.m. just replaying conversations that don't really need to be replayed. And you can't work out why, because there's nothing dramatically wrong. There's nothing obviously wrong, but it just doesn't feel right. So you do what makes sense. You maybe try and reduce the load if you can. You take a day off. Maybe you go to bed earlier. You cut a commitment here or there. You push through the week and you just tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to have a rest of the weekend. And you just wait. You wait for it to start sorting itself out. But this doesn't work because the load itself, the amount that you're carrying, is not the real constraint. You might think it is, but it's not. The true constraint is the absence of infrastructure in order to process the load. That's the constraint. Reducing the input temporarily may help, but the same load inevitably returns because life hasn't changed, and then you find yourself stuck again. And at the end of the day, as a high-performing woman, you tend to thrive on that heavy load. You like it, being intense is part of who you are. So reducing the load doesn't work, and it's a mismatch with who you are and what you want to do. What we're doing is starting to pour less into a bucket that still has open holes. Still got holes there, still going to drain, even if you put less into it. And the longer that continues undiagnosed, the larger the intervention that it will require will be. So here's a 3-step solution that you can go through today. I call it the capacity leak framework, and it gives you 3 places to look in order to see where your resources are leaking. So the first thing we need to do is look at your sleep architecture, not just the duration. It's not about how many hours did you sleep. The question is whether those hours actually restored you. If you're waking up tired, if you're replaying conversations at 3 a.m., then your nervous system is not entering recovery mode. It's staying activated throughout the night, which means you're not sleeping particularly well, and duration becomes irrelevant because the architecture is broken. Second place to look, decision load. So count the number of decisions that you make before actually going into work. Before 9 a.m, 10 a.m, whatever it may be, count how many decisions you've made. And I'm not talking about just the big decisions, all of them. So what to wear, what to eat, what to reply to first, what to look at, whether to take a phone call, whether to answer an email. All of those things are invisible, but they still drain. And high-performing women who are stuck in a fade will carry a decision load that most people cannot even accumulate before half their day, let alone before the morning. You guys are carrying this before you've even started. So assess it. And step 3, the third leak, is the masking cost. So asking yourself how different the version of you at work is versus the version of you at home. And what's the gap that sits in there? What's the energy cost required to maintain the professional presentation, to translate yourself, to modulate your intensity so that the environment you're in can receive it, can deal with it? Because that gets paid for every day in your nervous system resources. Nobody accounts for that. It's a leak that nobody finds because nobody actually looks there. So why does this work? Well, it works because you can't fix what's not been diagnosed. Most attempts at energy management and recovery only address the most visible symptoms. They don't actually locate the real constraint. That little 3-step framework, the capacity leak framework, points you at 3 specific leaks. And you can start by looking at that. You can do it on your own. If you're someone who wants a full diagnosis and you want a structured 48-hour protocol to help you reset, built specifically for you from your data, then you can do that in Ground Zero. You'll find the link in my bio, or you can drop the word 0 and I'll send you the details. Or you can access the capacity assessment, which will give you a more detailed version of that framework that we've just run, and you can get your very own diagnostic assessment today, and it will show you where your resources are going. Just drop the word assess in the comments and I'll send you that. You can go through that today. It will take you 15 minutes or so if you do it properly, and then you'll know which of those 3 areas is your primary leak, and that will be your starting point for everything. It's not about more rest. It's not about more willpower. It starts with an accurate diagnosis. And once you have that, then we can start to build the infrastructure. And if you want to do that with me over 48 hours for free, we can do that in Ground Zero. So drop the word assess and I'll send you the diagnostic tool. Drop the word 0 and I'll give you all the details about how we can actually build the plan and run it together.